The dead planet stretched out below the ship like a grave. Minho pressed his hand against the window and stared at the gray landscape. Once this world had been green. Once people called Kelthera had lived here, built cities here, raised families here. Now it was just ash and broken buildings. Are you sure about this? Jiwan asked from the captain's chair. She was older than Minho, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too much war. The scans show something down there, but it could be a trap. Minho turned away from the window. He was a scientist, not a soldier. He studied dead civilizations, tried to understand what they had been before they disappeared. The Kelthera were special, though. Every record of them had been erased. The empire that ruled the galaxy, the Vextar, had made sure of that. The energy readings are old, Minho said. Pre-Vextar technology. Whatever is down there has been waiting for 200 years. Jiwan sighed. She knew that tone in his voice. He would go down there no matter what she said. Fine, but take Deho with you. And stay in radio contact. Deho was young, barely 28, with eager eyes and quick hands. He checked Minho's equipment twice before they left the ship. Do you think we'll find anything good? He asked. I hope so, Minho said. The Kelthera were warriors and artists. If anything survived, it might help us understand them. They landed near a massive structure half buried in volcanic ash. It looked like a temple or a tomb. Strange writing covered the walls, symbols that Minho had spent years learning to read. The Vextar had tried to erase this language from existence, but Minho had found fragments, pieces of the past that refused to die. The entrance was sealed by a heavy door. Deho used a small explosive charge to break it open. The sound echoed through the empty city like thunder. Inside, darkness waited. They descended into the structure, their lights cutting through 2 centuries of dust. The walls were covered with carvings. Minho recognized scenes of battle, of celebration, of daily life. The Kelthera had been beautiful people, tall and strong, with faces that showed both fierceness and kindness. Doctor, Deho whispered, look at this. They had entered a vast circular chamber. In the dim light, Minho could see figures standing around the edges. His heart jumped. People? No statues. But as he moved closer, he realized they were not statues at all. They were prisoners frozen in some kind of stasis field. Aliens from species Minho had never seen before. All trapped, all displayed like trophies. This is a Vextar vault, Minho said quietly. They keep their greatest victories here, the warriors they defeated. At the center of the chamber stood a column of red light. Inside it, a figure waited. She was tall, taller than any human, with armor that looked like it had been forged from starlight. Her hands were bound to a magnificent sword driven into the floor. Over her eyes, a cruel metal crown covered her face, blinding her. Minho approached slowly. Writing covered the blade of the sword. He read it aloud. Here sleeps the Ashblade who burned 100 worlds. May her silence be eternal. Ashblade, Deho breathed. I've heard that name. Old soldiers tell stories. She was the greatest warrior the Kelthera ever produced. The Vextar needed 5 fleets to capture her. Minho stared at the figure. Even trapped and blinded, she looked dangerous. But there was something else too. Something sad about how she stood there. Frozen in time, her people dead, her world gone. Without thinking, Minho reached out and touched the sword. The red light exploded. Energy surged through the chamber like a wave. Minho fell backward, but his hand stayed locked on the sword. The metal crown on the woman's face cracked. Her head snapped up. And then, impossibly, a voice spoke directly into Minho's mind. Missed me. The voice was female, ancient, and filled with dark humor. It echoed through his thoughts like someone was standing right next to him, whispering in his ear. The woman collapsed. The sword fell with her, pulling free from the floor. Alarms began to wail throughout the structure. Minho! Deho grabbed his arm. What did you do? I don't know. Minho crawled to the fallen warrior. Up close, he could see she was breathing, but barely. Blood trickled from beneath the metal crown. We need to get her to the ship. Get he agent down here now. The voice spoke again in his mind, weaker this time. How long? How long what? Minho asked aloud. Since I fell. Since they put me here. Minho's throat tightened. 200 years, silence. Then who survives? He knew what she was asking. I'm sorry. The Kelthera are gone. All of them. Another long silence. When the voice returned, it was hollow. Then why did you wake me? Hyjin arrived with a medical kit. She was in her 50s, calm even in crisis. She took one look at the warrior and began working immediately. Her vital signs are weak. These devices on her head are fused to her nervous system. Moving her could kill her. We don't have a choice, Jiwan's voice crackled over the radio. Those alarms just sent a signal into space. Every Vextar ship in the sector will know something happened here. Minho looked at the sword still clutched in the warrior's hand. When he touched it again, the voice returned stronger. You need to leave. They will come for me. They always do. We're not leaving you, Minho said. Fool, you don't know what I am, what I've done. I know you've been alone in the dark for 200 years, Minho said. That's enough. They carried her to the ship as gently as they could. She drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes she would speak through the sword, giving them directions. 3 guards in the left passage. Energy rifles. They aim high, duck low. Her voice was weak but precise. Even blinded and barely conscious, she remembered every detail of this place. They fought through automated defenses, machines that had waited 2 centuries to kill anyone who disturbed the prisoners. Teho took a blast to the shoulder but kept moving. Jiwan laid down covering fire while Hijin dragged the warrior up the ramp. The ship lifted off just as Vextar fighters appeared in the sky. They were sleek and deadly, weapons already charging. Hold on. Jiwan threw the ship into a hard turn. Explosions bloomed behind them as missiles tried to find their target. In the medical bay, Hyejin worked frantically to stabilize their passenger. Minho sat nearby, one hand on the sword. The warrior's voice whispered in his mind. You should have left me. Now they will hunt you. They will never stop, then we run, Minho said. Together. Why? You don't even know my name. Minho smiled despite the chaos around them. Then tell me. What do I call you? A pause. Then quietly. Soren, my name is Soren. The ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the dead world behind. But Minho knew Soren was right. The Vextar would come. They had just made an enemy of the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and their only hope was a blind warrior who hadn't fought in 200 years. He looked at her unconscious form on the medical table. Blood seeped from beneath the metal crown. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. After 2 centuries of darkness and silence, Soren was alive. Welcome back, Minho whispered. We'll figure out the rest together. The sound tore through the medical bay like broken glass. Hyejin worked carefully, trying to remove one of the neural devices from Soren's temple. The metal had grown into her skin, fused with nerves and bone. Every touch brought fresh agony. I have to stop, Hyejin said, pulling back. Her hands trembled. This technology is beyond anything I've seen. If I keep going, I might kill her. Minho sat beside Soren, one hand on her sword. Through their connection, he could feel echoes of her pain. It was like fire burning through his thoughts. Can you hear me? He asked silently. Soren's voice came back weak and ragged. Yes, stop trying to help. It only makes it worse. We can't leave those things in your head. They're killing you. Good. Let them. Her mental voice was bitter. There's nothing left to live for. Minho felt anger rise in his chest. Your people are gone, yes, but you're still here? That matters. To who? I was a protector. I failed. Everyone I swore to defend is dust and memory. Days passed. Soren drifted between consciousness and darkness. Sometimes she would speak through the sword, sharing fragments of memory. Minho learned about the Kelthera through her words. They had been artists and warriors both. Every fighter also created beauty, songs, paintings, poetry. Strength without art was hollow, they believed. Violence without purpose was just cruelty. Tell me about your blade, Minho said one night when sleep wouldn't come. Soren was quiet for a long moment. Every Kelthera warrior bonded with a single weapon. It took years of meditation and crafting. The blade became part of us. Through it, we could sense the world, connect with others. My sword was forged from crystal found deep in our planet's core. I named her Whisper, because she moved through air without sound. Why Ash Blade? That's what they called you in the records. Another long silence. I earned that name in the final war. The Vextar came to our world like a plague. They wanted to own us, control us. We refused, so they decided to erase us instead. I fought them for 3 years. Every victory left only ash and smoke behind. I became what they feared most, proof that they could bleed. But they caught you. Yes. Warlord Kravos commanded the fleet that finally cornered me. He didn't want to kill me. He wanted to break me, to prove that even legends could fall. Her mental voice turned cold as steel. He kept me in his trophy room for months. Tortured me. Then he put these devices on my head and locked me in that vault. 200 years in darkness, no sight, no sound except my own thoughts. Do you understand what that does to a mind? Minho did understand, at least a little. The loneliness, the hopelessness. I'm sorry, he said. No one deserves that. I killed thousands of Vextar soldiers. Maybe I did deserve it. You were protecting your people. That's not the same as murder. Tell that to the dead. The ship fled through the edges of known space, staying away from major trade routes. G1 plotted their course carefully, always watching the sensors for pursuit. She knew it was only a matter of time before the Vextar found them. The attack came on the 8th day. 3 Vextar scout ships dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead of them. Their weapons charged immediately, bright and deadly. Evasive, G1 threw the ship into a hard turn. Energy blasts cut through the space where they had been seconds before. In the medical bay, Soren's head lifted. Minho, I need your eyes. What? Go to the bridge. Touch the sword and look at the scanner. I can see through your connection. Minho ran. On the bridge, G1 was fighting the controls, trying to outmaneuver ships faster and more agile than theirs. We can't outrun them. Minho grabbed the sword and stared at the tactical display. Immediately, Soren's voice filled his mind. Tell her to turn 6 degrees right. Full thrust in 3 seconds. G1 turned 6 degrees right. Full thrust in 3, 2, 1 now. G1 didn't question it. She made the turn. An asteroid the size of a building shot past them, so close it scraped their shields. Behind them, one of the Vextar ships couldn't adjust in time. It smashed into the asteroid and exploded. How did you know? G1 gasped. Soren's voice came through Minho again. Left 15 degrees. Cut engines in 5 seconds. Wait now. The ship went dark and drifted. The 2 remaining Vextar ships shot past them, their sensors confused by the sudden power loss. G1 brought the engines back online and reversed course, putting distance between them and their pursuers. She saved us, Deho said, staring at his screens. But how? She can't even see. Memory, Minho said. She remembers every asteroid field, every safe route. This was her territory 200 years ago. They jumped to hyperspace before the Vextar ships could regroup, but the effort had cost Soren dearly. In the medical bay, she lay unconscious, blood seeping from her eyes and ears. Hejin worked frantically to stabilize her. The neural devices are degrading, Hejin said quietly. Using her abilities accelerates the damage. If she keeps pushing herself like this, she'll die. That night, Deho came to Minho with an idea. I've been thinking about the sword connection. It's a neural interface, right? What if we could build something that lets her see through the ship's sensors? Is that even possible? I don't know. No one has ever tried to link Keltheran technology with human systems. But she's dying anyway. We have to do something. They worked through the night building a device from medical scanners and communication equipment. It was crude, held together with wire and hope. When Hyejin saw it, she shook her head. This could kill her. Or it could save her, Deho said. They asked Soren first. Through the sword, Minho explained what they wanted to try. It might hurt. It might not work. But if it does, you could see again. Not with your eyes, but through the ship's cameras and sensors. Soren's response was immediate. Do it. Deho attached the device to the neural crown. Cables ran from it to the ship's main computer. Ready? He asked. Soren nodded. He activated the device. Soren's body went rigid. Her mouth opened in a silent scream. The ship's lights flickered as power surged through the improvised connection. Minho grabbed her hand, trying to anchor her. Then slowly, she relaxed. Her breathing steadied. She turned her head as if looking around the room even though the metal crown still covered her eyes. I see you, she whispered aloud. Her actual voice, not the mental one. It was beautiful, deep and musical. I see all of you. Tears ran down her cheeks from beneath the crown. The stars. I can see the stars again, Deho grinned. It worked. I can't believe it actually worked. Soren looked at Minho. Through the ship's sensors, she could perceive him in ways human eyes couldn't. Heat patterns, electromagnetic fields, the rapid beating of his heart. Thank you, she said, for not giving up on me. We're not done yet, Minho said. But this is a start. Later, after Soren had rested, Jiwan called a meeting. The Vextar know we have her. They'll send more ships, bigger ones. We need a plan. Run, Deho suggested. Get as far from known space as possible. They'll find us eventually, Jiwan said. The Vextar never forget. Never forgive. Soren spoke from the doorway. She moved carefully, still weak, but her presence filled the room. There's another option. We fight an empire? Jiwan asked. We're one small ship, for now, Soren said. But you freed me. That means something. Legends have power even across centuries. Others will hear. Others will remember. The Vextar ruled through fear. We can break that fear. Minho met her gaze through the sensors. You want revenge. I want justice, Soren corrected. But more than that, I want to protect what remains. You saved me. Now let me save you. The crew exchanged glances. They were scientists, not soldiers, but they had already crossed the line when they freed Soren. There was no going back now. All right, Jiwan said. But if we're going to do this, we do it smart. We learn, we prepare, we survive. Soren nodded slowly. Then I will teach you. The way of the Kelthera warrior. How to fight. How to think. How to win against impossible odds. She looked at each of them in turn. But know this. The path I walked was paved with blood and loss. If you follow me, there will be pain. There will be sacrifice. The Vextar do not show mercy. Then we'll show them what humans do, Minho said. We adapt. We survive. We protect our own. For the first time since waking, Soren smiled. It was small and sad, but real. Your species is either very brave or very foolish. Both, Jiwan said. Definitely both. Station Kepler 7 floated in the darkness like a metal flower. It was old, patched together from dozens of different ship parts and station modules. People from 100 worlds lived here, far from the empires and their rules. It was exactly the kind of place where someone could disappear or be found. Jiwan docked the ship carefully, watching the scanners for any sign of trouble. Remember, we're just here for supplies and information. Keep your heads down. Soren stood in the cargo bay, testing her new abilities. The neural bridge let her see through the ship's external cameras. It was strange seeing the world in layers of data and light rather than normal vision, but it was better than darkness. You should stay on the ship, Minho said. If anyone recognizes you, they will, Soren interrupted. The Ashblade is legend. But legends can be useful. Sometimes fear is a weapon too. They walked through the station's crowded corridors. Aliens of every shape and size filled the marketplace. Some sold food, others weapons or information. The air smelled of 1,000 different worlds mixed together. An old alien spotted Soren and dropped his merchandise. He was Vraxi with 4 arms and scales like blue metal. No, he whispered. It can't be. The Ashblade died 2 centuries ago. Clearly not, Soren said calmly. Word spread through the station like fire. Some people ran. Others came closer, staring in disbelief. Soren ignored them all, moving with quiet dignity despite the stares. They found a weapons dealer who sold them power cells and medical supplies. As they paid, a tall figure approached. She was Solvari, with silver skin and eyes that seemed to see too much. She wore diplomatic robes. Captain Park, the Solvari said. My name is Rylan. I need to speak with you privately. Jiwan was suspicious, but Rylan's credentials checked out. She was an ambassador, neutral territory in galactic politics. They met in a quiet corner of the station's garden level, where artificial plants grew under artificial sunlight. You have no idea what you've done, Rylan said, freeing her. The entire galaxy is talking about it. We saved someone who needed help, Minho said. You released a weapon, Rylan corrected. The Vextar are terrified. Warlord Kravos himself is leading the hunt. He's convinced 12 other empires to join him. They're saying Soren is too dangerous to live free. Soren's voice was cold. What they mean is I'm proof they can lose. They ruled through fear. I am fear's answer. Rylan studied her. The stories about you are remarkable. They say you held off 5 fleets alone, that you never lost a battle until they used a coward's trap to catch you. Stories exaggerate, Soren said. I lost many battles. I just never stopped fighting. That's what scares them, Rylan said. You're not just a warrior. You're a symbol. If you're free, others might believe they can fight back too. An explosion rocked the station, alarms screamed. People ran in every direction. Jiwan grabbed her communicator. Deho, what's happening? Vextar kill team just breached the docking bay. Deho's voice was panicked. They're coming for us. Soren moved before anyone else could react. She drew her sword, feeling its familiar weight. Through the neural bridge, she could see the enemy approaching. 12 soldiers in heavy armor, weapons ready. Stay behind me, she commanded. You're still weak, Minho protested. You can barely stand. I am Kelthera, Soren said. This is what we do. The kill team burst through the garden entrance. They expected an easy target. They found death instead. Soren moved like water, like wind, like nothing human. Her blade sang through the air. The first soldier fell before he could fire. The second managed to shoot, but Soren had already moved, the energy blast passing through empty space. Even weak, even blind, even with a body that screamed in pain with every movement, she was magnificent. 2 centuries of imprisonment hadn't dulled her skills. If anything, the rage that came with it made her more dangerous. But there were too many. A blast caught her shoulder, spinning her around. Another hit her leg. She fell to one knee, blood staining her armor. Minho grabbed a fallen weapon and fired. His shot went wide, but it made the soldiers hesitate. Juan pulled her sidearm and laid down covering fire. Even Rylan grabbed something to throw. Soren looked up at them. These humans and this diplomat fighting beside her when they could have run. Something changed in her expression. She wasn't alone anymore. She had a reason to win. She stood. Power flooded through her, drawn from reserves she didn't know she had left. Her blade became a blur. The remaining soldiers fell like wheat before a scythe. When it was over, 12 soldiers lay dead or unconscious. Soren stood among them, breathing hard, blood dripping from her wounds. She looked at the carnage and felt nothing. These soldiers had chosen their side. They had come to kill her and everyone with her. "We need to leave," Jiwan said. Now, before reinforcements arrived, they ran for the ship. Rylan came with them, claiming she had information they would need. Behind them, station security tried to contain the damage. Fires burned. People screamed. The Vexitar had turned a peaceful station into a war zone just to reach Soren. On the ship, Hyejin worked frantically to patch Soren's wounds. "You shouldn't have fought. You could have died. We all die eventually," Soren said. "Better to die protecting others than cowering in darkness." As they escaped into hyperspace, Soren found a quiet moment alone with Minho. "You fought," she said. "Badly," he admitted. "I missed every shot, but you stood. You could have run, but you stayed. That takes a different kind of courage." She paused. "The Kelthera have a word. Corvan. It means one who stands beside you in the fire. You are my Corvan, Minho," he smiled. "I don't know what that means exactly, but I'll take it as a compliment. It is the highest honor my people could give." Later, the crew gathered in the common room. Rylan spread out data files on the main screen. "I've been studying the Vextar for decades. They keep detailed records of every species they conquer, all of it stored in their central archives on their homeworld." "Why are you telling us this?" Jiwan asked. "Because those archives contain information about the devices on Soren's head, Keltheran medical technology. If you want to remove them safely, that's where you'll find the data." Silence fell over the room. Everyone understood what Rylan was suggesting. The Vextar homeworld was the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. Going there would be suicide. "It's impossible," Deho said. "Everything we've done so far was supposed to be impossible," Minho countered. "We freed the Ashblade. We escaped Vextar fleets. We survived a kill team. Maybe impossible just means no one has tried hard enough yet." Soren shook her head. "I won't ask you to do this. The risk is too great." "You're not asking," Jiwan said. "We're offering." "You said we're your Corvan. Whatever that means, it sounds like family. And family doesn't abandon each other." Hyejin pulled up medical scans. "The neural devices are degrading faster now. Every time you use the bridge, every time you fight, they break down more. You have maybe 3 months." After that, she didn't need to finish. Soren looked at each of them. These strange, brave humans who had freed her for no reason except it was right. Who had stood beside her in battle. Who now wanted to risk everything to save her life. "If we do this," she said slowly, "we do it properly, I will train you. Teach you to fight, to think like warriors. The Vextar are brutal, but they're also predictable. They've been winning for so long they've forgotten how to adapt." "And humans?" Minho asked. Soren smiled, sharp and dangerous. "Humans are chaos. You don't follow the rules because you don't know what the rules are. That makes you unpredictable, dangerous, perfect for what we need to do. So we're really doing this," Jiwan said. "Infiltrating the most secure facility in the galaxy." "Not infiltrating," Soren corrected. "Raiding. We go in fast, grab what we need, and get out before they know what hit them." Deho laughed, but it was nervous energy. "This is insane." "We're going to die." "Probably," Soren agreed. "But we'll die trying to do something impossible." That's better than dying for nothing. Ryland stood. I can get you forged credentials and a stolen transport. After that, you're on your own. The Solvari maintain neutrality. If anyone discovers I helped you, it would mean war. Why help us at all? Jiwan asked. Ryland looked at Soren. Because I remember the Kelthera. I was young when they fell, but I remember. They were good people. They didn't deserve what happened to them. If helping you gives their last warrior a chance to live, to fight back, then it's worth the risk. Soren bowed her head in respect. Thank you. That night, Minho found Soren standing in the observation deck, looking at the stars through the neural bridge. Having second thoughts? He asked. Always, she admitted. I spent 200 years thinking about all the things I should have done differently. All the ways I failed my people. This feels like another mistake waiting to happen. Or it could be your redemption. She turned to look at him. You truly believe we can do this? I believe in you, Minho said simply. And I believe in us. Whatever happens, we face it together. Soren felt something warm in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or purpose. She had been alone for so long. She'd forgotten what it felt like to have people who cared. Then we begin training tomorrow. And I will not go easy on you. The Vextar won't show mercy, so neither can I. Wouldn't have it any other way, Minho said. Outside the window, stars burned in the endless dark. Somewhere out there, the Vextar were hunting. Deho stood in the cargo bay, wondering what he'd gotten himself into. Soren circled him slowly, examining his stance. Through the neural bridge, she could see everything about him. His heart rate, the tension in his muscles, the fear he was trying to hide. You're thinking too much, she said. Stop planning. Just move. How can I move without planning? She struck without warning. Her blade stopped a hair's width from his throat. Like that. Planning takes time. Combat doesn't give you time. Deho stumbled backward, heart racing. That's impossible to learn. Then you'll die. Soren lowered her blade. Again, defend yourself. The training was brutal. Soren pushed them past exhaustion, past pain, past the point where they thought they couldn't continue. She was merciless not because she was cruel, but because the Vextar would be worse. The Kelthera believed in 3 principles, she told them during a rare rest. Awareness. The ability to see what's really happening, not what you think is happening. Adaptation. Changing your approach when the first one fails. And acceptance. Knowing you might die and fighting anyway. That's a grim philosophy, G1 said, rubbing a bruised shoulder. It kept us alive for 10,000 years, Soren replied. Until it didn't. Minho proved surprisingly good at the mental aspects. He could read situations, predict movements, think 3 steps ahead. His body was slower to learn, but his mind was sharp. Soren spent extra time with him, teaching him how to use intelligence as a weapon. Ji-Wan brought years of combat experience. She'd flown fighters, survived battles. Soren refined her skills, taught her to think beyond military doctrine. Your training is good, Soren told her, but predictable. The Vextar write the books your military studies. We need to think differently. Deho struggled the most. He was young, inexperienced, and terrified of making mistakes. Soren worked him harder than the others because she saw potential. You're an engineer, she told him after one particularly hard session. You see systems, connections. Apply that to combat. Every fight is a system waiting to be broken. Even Hyejin trained, though she protested she was a doctor, not a fighter. Everyone fights, Soren said. Or everyone dies. Your choice. Weeks passed. The ship hid in the Veil Nebula, a region so thick with radiation that sensors couldn't penetrate it. They were safe here for now. But Soren's condition worsened. The neural devices were failing faster. Sometimes she would collapse mid-training, blood leaking from beneath the metal crown. Hyejin did what she could, but it wasn't enough. One night, Minho found Soren alone in the observation room. She was practicing sword forms, moving through ancient patterns with perfect precision. Even dying, even in constant pain, she was beautiful to watch. Can't sleep? He asked. I've spent 200 years sleeping, she said. Now I want to live every moment I have left. He sat down, watching her move. Tell me about your people. What were they like? Before the war, Soren paused, lowering her blade. Joyful. We believed strength and beauty were the same thing. A perfect strike was art. A well-crafted song was a battle won. We had festivals where warriors would compete not in combat, but in poetry, in painting, in making each other laugh. That sounds wonderful. It was. We weren't perfect. We had conflicts, disagreements, but we believed in protecting what mattered: family, art, the future. Her voice grew quiet. The Vextar saw that as weakness. They thought beauty was frivolous. They were wrong. You're proof of that, she looked at him. Am I? Sometimes I think I'm just a weapon that forgot how to create anything. All I know now is destruction. You're teaching us. That's creation. Or I'm making you into weapons like me. No, Minho said firmly. You're giving us tools to survive. That's different. A weapon exists only to destroy. A tool can build or defend or create. We choose what we are, Soren smiled sadly. You're wise for someone so young. The Kelthera would have liked you. That week, Soren collapsed during training. Not just tired, her body shut down completely. Hijin rushed her to the medical bay. The scan results were grim. The neural devices are cascading. Each failure triggers more failures. She has weeks, maybe less. Hijin looked exhausted, defeated. I'm sorry. I can't fix this. The crew gathered around Soren's bed. She was unconscious, her breathing shallow. For the first time since they'd met her, she looked fragile. We move up the timeline, Jiwon said. We hit the archives now. We're not ready, Daeho protested. She said we needed months of training. We don't have months, Minho interrupted. We have now. That's it. Rylan had provided them with forged credentials and a stolen Vextar transport. It sat in the cargo bay, ugly and practical. Jiwon studied the infiltration plan. It was insane. They had to fly directly to the Vextar homeworld, land at the archives, and steal medical data from the most secure facility in the galaxy. The credentials will get us through the first checkpoints, Jiwon explained. We're supposed to be salvage contractors delivering artifacts. Once inside, we have maybe an hour before someone checks our story. An hour to find specific medical files in a facility the size of a city, Daeho said. Great odds. Soren knows the layout, Minho said. She was kept there before they moved her to Kelthera Prime. She can guide us through the neural bridge. If she wakes up, Hijin added quietly. They prepared in silence. Each of them knew this might be their last mission. Humans were still new to the galaxy. No one would start a war over them. If they died, they'd just be a footnote in Vextar records. Soren woke the night before they were supposed to leave. She was weak, could barely sit up, but her mind was clear. You're going anyway, aren't you? She asked Minho. Yes. Fools. Brave, beautiful fools. She reached for his hand. Promise me something. If it goes wrong, you run. Don't try to save me. Just survive. I can't promise that. Then I'm coming with you. You can barely stand. I can guide you. Through the sword connection, I'll see what you see, help you navigate. It's my best chance of survival anyway. If you fail, I die. If you succeed, but I'm not there to tell you what to do with the data, I die. I have to come, Hijin checked her over. I can give her stimulants. They'll keep her conscious and functional for a few hours. After that, she didn't finish. They all knew what came after. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Destination Vextar Prime. The journey would take 3 days. Soren used the time to drill them on the archives layout. Every corridor. Every security checkpoint. Every blind spot in the camera system. The medical wing is in the eastern section, she explained, projecting a map through the ship's display. Keltheran technology will be stored in Vault 17. The access codes change, but there's a maintenance override that might still work. Might? Daeho asked. It was valid 2 centuries ago. Architecture rarely changes in bureaucratic empires. She smiled grimly. Besides, we're not exactly swimming in better options. On the final night before arrival, the crew shared a meal together. It was simple food, nothing special. But they ate slowly, savoring it. This might be their last peaceful moment. I want to say something, Soren began. Everyone looked at her. When I woke up, I wanted to die. I had nothing left to fight for. You changed that. You gave me purpose. Family. Hope. Whatever happens tomorrow, know that you saved me in ways that have nothing to do with medical devices. Jiwon raised her cup. To the crew of the Horizon's Edge, the craziest bunch of idiots in the galaxy. To family, Minho added. To impossible things, Daeho said. To survival, Hyejian finished. Soren looked at them all, these humans who had become her clan. To Corvin, she said softly. Those who stand beside you in the fire, they drank together. Tomorrow they would face the heart of the empire that had destroyed her people. Tomorrow they might die, but tonight they were together. And that was enough. The ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vextar system. Ahead of them, their destination waited, a planet covered in metal and weapons, a fortress that had never fallen. Last chance to turn back, Jiwan said without much hope. Forward, Minho said. Soren gripped her sword. Through the neural bridge, she could feel the planet ahead. Somewhere down there in those archives was the knowledge that could save her life. Or end it into the fire, she whispered. The ship began its approach. Behind them, the stars watched. Ahead, the Vextar waited. And between them, 5 people who had decided that some things were worth dying for. The impossible was about to be attempted. The legend was about to return to the place of her greatest defeat. And the galaxy would never be The archives rose from the planet's surface like a metal mountain. It was vast beyond comprehension, housing artifacts from 1,000 conquered civilizations. Each floor was a monument to genocide. Each vault held the last remnants of the dead. The stolen transport descended toward the landing platform. Inside, the crew wore salvage contractor uniforms. They looked professional, bored even. No one watching would suspect they were about to commit the galaxy's boldest theft. Credentials accepted, a mechanical voice announced. Proceed to Bay 7 for cargo inspection. Jiwan landed smoothly. In the cargo hold, Soren sat propped against a crate. She wore the neural bridge device connected to Minho's hidden camera. Hyejin had given her enough stimulants to keep her conscious, but they all knew it was temporary. Hours at most. Remember, Soren's voice came through Minho's earpiece. You're contractors. Act like you belong here. Boredom is your best disguise. 2 Vextar guards approached the ship. They were tall, armored, carrying weapons that could vaporize a person. Jiwan met them at the ramp, datapad in hand. Delivery manifest, she said, sounding tired. Recovered artifacts from Sector 9, the usual ancient junk. The guard scanned the datapad. The forged credentials held. Proceed to receiving. Don't touch anything you're not supposed to. They wheeled cargo containers through the massive entrance. Inside, the archives stretched in all directions. Row after row of shelves and display cases. Each one held pieces of civilizations that no longer existed. Minho saw a section marked with Keltharan symbols. His chest tightened. Through his camera, Soren could see it too. Her people's art, weapons, personal belongings. All stolen. All displayed like trophies. Stay focused, Soren's voice was strained. We're here for the medical data, not revenge. East Wing, 3rd floor. Move quickly, but don't run. They left the containers in receiving and split up as planned. Jiwan and Hyejin stayed with the ship, ready for quick escape. Minho and Daeho headed deeper into the archives, following Soren's directions. The medical wing was quieter. Fewer people, more security. Daeho's hands shook as they approached a locked door. Vault 17, he whispered. Use the override code, Soren said. 379K Beta 6, Daeho entered it. The lock beeped. Red. Denied. Try the alternate. 521K Alpha 9, still red. Minho's heart pounded. Soren, it's not working. Silence. Then, they changed the system. I should have known. 200 years is a long time. So what do we do? Daeho asked, panic creeping into his voice. Let me think. A pause. There's a maintenance access panel 3 doors down. Behind the panel is the power conduit for this entire wing. If you overload it, the vault doors unlock automatically as a safety measure. Won't that trigger alarms? Minho asked. Yes, you'll have maybe 5 minutes before security arrives. Get the data and run. Daeho found the maintenance panel. Inside was a tangle of wires and circuits. He pulled out his tools and started working. This is going to make a lot of noise. Then make it count, Soren said. Daeho crossed 2 major power lines. Sparks flew. The lights flickered, then died. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Vault doors throughout the wing clicked open, and alarms started screaming. They ran into Vault 17. Inside were shelves of data crystals, each one containing medical information from conquered species. Minho scanned the labels frantically. I don't see Keltharan. Section K, bottom shelf, blue crystal, Soren directed. He found it. The crystal was small, no bigger than his thumb. This tiny thing held the key to removing Soren's neural devices. He grabbed it and turned to run. Then he saw the rest of the vault. More crystals. More information. Soren, there's data here on other species. The ones in the vault where we found you. If they're still alive, we don't have time, she said urgently. Minho started grabbing crystals anyway, shoving them into his bag. We make time. If these warriors are still out there, they deserve freedom too. You fool. Soren started to protest, but Minho was already moving. Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. Vextar security was coming. Lots of them. Run! Deho grabbed Minho's arm. They sprinted for the exit. Guards poured into the hallway from both directions. Energy weapons charged, painting the walls with deadly light. Minho and Deho were trapped. This way. Soren's voice guided them into a side passage. Left, then right, then through the door marked authorized personnel only. They followed her directions blindly, trusting her memory of a facility she hadn't seen in 2 centuries. Behind them, guards shouted and weapons fired. Ahead, more security converged. Then every screen in the archives lit up at once. A face appeared. Old, scarred, crowned with trophies from 100 battles. Warlord Kravos. Did you think I wouldn't know you'd come here, Ashblade? His voice boomed through the facility. I've been waiting. This was always a trap. On the ship, Soren stared at the screen. 200 years hadn't diminished her hatred for that face. Kravos. Still hiding behind that crown, I see, Kravos continued. Still broken. Still weak. You were my greatest victory, Soren. I shaped you through suffering. I made you what you are. You made me angry, Soren said, even though he couldn't hear her. That was your mistake. Kravos smiled on the screen. Surrender now. Give yourself to me. I'll let your human pets live. Refuse and I'll make them suffer as I made you suffer. Your choice. In the corridors, Minho and Deho were pinned down. Guards surrounded them. There was no way out, Soren. Minho said quietly. Whatever you're thinking, don't. I can't let him hurt you, she replied. You saved me. Now it's my turn. Soren, no, she stood. Hijin tried to stop her, but Soren pushed past with surprising strength. She grabbed her sword and connected the neural bridge fully, ignoring the pain that screamed through her head. Stay with the ship, she told Hijin. Be ready to run. You can barely walk, then I'll crawl. Soren smiled, fierce and terrible. I'm not the Ashblade for nothing. She left the ship and entered the archives. The neural bridge showed her everything. Every camera, every sensor, every guard position. She saw the entire facility as if it were a living map, and she saw her crew cornered and surrounded, about to die. Hold position, she said through the comm. I'm coming. Soren, there are too many. There are never too many, she said. Only targets I haven't reached yet. She moved through the archives like a ghost. Guards patrolled the corridors, but they were looking for escaping intruders, not a warrior walking calmly toward them. When they did see her, it was too late. Her blade sang. One guard fell. Then another. She didn't stop, didn't slow. Every movement was perfect economy. No wasted motion. No hesitation. 2 centuries of imprisonment hadn't dulled her skills. It had refined them. She reached the Keltheran exhibit and paused. Her people's artifacts surrounded her. Art, weapons, pieces of home. The Vextar had taken everything and put it on display like zoo animals. Rage burned through her, pure and clean and terrible. For the Kelthera, she whispered, then she ran, not toward escape. Toward her crew. Toward the guards who threatened them. Toward everything that stood between her and the people she'd sworn to protect. The neural bridge showed her the optimal path. She took it. Guards tried to stop her. They failed. Energy blasts cut through the air where she'd been moments before. She was faster, smarter, angrier. She burst into the corridor where Minho and Deho were pinned. 20 guards. All armed, all trained. All dead the moment she arrived. It was beautiful and terrible. She moved like art, like music, like violence given form and purpose. Her blade found gaps in armor, weak points in shields. She didn't just fight. She danced through death and made it look easy. But there were too many. Even she couldn't win forever. A blast caught her side. Another hit her leg. She stumbled, kept moving. Blood soaked her armor. The neural devices sparked and smoked, overloading from the strain. Go, she shouted at Minho and Deho. Run! But they didn't run. Minho grabbed a fallen weapon and started firing. Deho did the same. They weren't skilled, weren't trained enough. But they fought anyway. Because she had taught them. Because they were Corvin. Together they fought through the archives, a legendary warrior and 2 humans who had no business surviving. They made it anyway. Through corridors, Through guards, through fire and pain and impossible odds, they reached the landing bay. The ship waited, engines hot. Jiwan stood at the ramp, laying down covering fire. Move, 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 they ran. Soren was last, protecting their escape. A blast hit her back, she fell. Minho turned to grab her, but she pushed him toward the ship. Go, not without you. Daeho grabbed Soren under one arm. Minho took the other. Together they carried her onto the ship. The ramp closed. The ship lifted. Energy blasts hammered the shields. Hold on. Jiwan threw the ship into emergency thrust. They shot through the atmosphere, pursued by fighters. But Jiwan had learned from Soren. She flew unpredictably, wildly, using every trick she'd been taught. They jumped to hyperspace. The archives fell away behind them. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd infiltrated the heart of the Vextar Empire and escaped. In the medical bay, Hyejin worked desperately on Soren. Blood everywhere. Burns. Broken bones. The neural devices sparking and dying. Did we get it? Soren asked weakly. Minho held up the blue crystal. We got it, and more. Data on the other imprisoned warriors. We can free them all, Soren smiled. Blood on her lips. Hyejin worked through the night. The Keltheran medical data was complex, written in a language that had been dead for 2 centuries. But it was there. Instructions for safely removing neural inhibitors. Procedures tested over thousands of years. Soren lay on the medical table, barely conscious. The raid had nearly killed her. The neural devices were failing completely now, sparking and smoking. She had days at most, maybe hours. I think I can do it, Hyejin said, studying the data crystal. But it's risky. The devices have been in her head for 200 years. Removing them could cause permanent damage. What happens if we don't remove them? Minho asked. She dies, definitely. Soon. Soren's hand moved weakly. Minho grabbed it. Through the fading connection, her voice whispered in his mind. Do it. I'd rather die trying than waiting. The surgery took 6 hours. Hyejin worked with steady hands, following instructions from a civilization that no longer existed. Daeho assisted, passing tools and monitoring vital signs. Minho stayed close, holding Soren's sword, maintaining their connection. The neural crown came off first. It had grown into her skull like roots into stone. Every millimeter removed brought fresh blood. Soren's body convulsed. Minho felt her pain through the sword, sharp and overwhelming. Stay with me, he said, not sure if she could hear. Always, came her faint reply. The devices at her temples were next. They'd been designed to block her sight, her speech, her ability to fight. Removing them was like dismantling a bomb. One wrong move could destroy what remained of her nervous system. Hyejin's hands shook. I'm losing her. Heart rate dropping. Keep going, Jiwan said from the doorway. She's fought too hard to give up now. The final device came free. Soren went completely still. The monitors flatlined. Hyejin grabbed emergency equipment, working frantically to restart her heart. Come on, Minho whispered. You promised. You said you weren't going anywhere. Nothing. Silence, the sword connection was gone. For the first time since they'd met, Minho couldn't feel her presence. Then the monitor beeped. Once. Twice. A heartbeat. Weak but steady. Soren's eyes opened. Not through cameras or sensors or neural bridges. Her actual eyes. They were gold, like autumn leaves, and they saw the world clearly for the first time in 2 centuries. She looked at Minho. Really looked at him. Her hand came up slowly, touching his face with wonder. This is what you look like, she whispered. I could only sense you before. But you're real, solid, here. Tears ran down her cheeks. She looked around the medical bay at the crew gathered there. I can see you. All of you. The colors.
The light.
The stars outside. Her voice broke. I forgot how beautiful the universe was. The crew gave her time to recover. Days passed in a safe corner of space, far from Vextar patrols. Soren learned to move again without the neural bridge. Her balance was off at first, her coordination uncertain, but every day she grew stronger. One morning, Minho found her in the training bay practicing sword forms. Her movements were fluid again, natural. The ash blade had returned. How do you feel? He asked. Alive, she said simply. For the first time in so long, I feel alive. She lowered her blade. Thank you. For everything. For believing I was worth saving. You are. But our job isn't done yet. He showed her the data crystals they'd stolen. Information on 7 other imprisoned warriors. Legends from different species all trapped in Vextar vaults across the galaxy. We can free them, Minho said. The data includes their locations and life support frequencies. If we broadcast the right signal, we can wake them remotely. Soren studied the crystals. Each one represented a warrior like her, broken, imprisoned, forgotten. Do it, she said. They deserve freedom as much as I did. Daiho worked for 3 days, building a transmitter powerful enough to reach across the galaxy. When he activated it, the signal went out like a shout into the darkness. 7 frequencies, 7 locations, 7 legends waiting to wake. The first response came within hours. A warrior called Vakara, imprisoned on a prison moon in the Outer Rim. Her species had been conquered a century ago. She was free now, angry and looking for allies. More followed. Warriors from species with names no one remembered. Each one had been the greatest fighter their people produced. Each one had been captured and displayed like an animal in a zoo. And now, each one was free. The galaxy began to change. On Vextar Prime, Warlord Kravos watched reports flood in. 7 legendary warriors had escaped. Resistance movements were forming. Worlds that had been quiet for centuries were suddenly rebellious. This is your fault, his second-in-command said. Thane Velcor was younger, ambitious. You let the Ashblade escape. Now we have a full rebellion. I will fix this, Kravos growled. Mobilize the fleet. We hunt them down and destroy them. All of them. The council is questioning your leadership. Some say you've grown old, weak. Kravos turned on Velcor. Are you one of them? Velcor met his gaze. I'm simply observing what everyone else sees. Perhaps it's time for new leadership. Someone who can actually catch one warrior and her pet humans. The Vextar Empire began to fracture. Some supported Kravos, others backed Velcor. Civil war loomed. Meanwhile, the freed warriors gathered. Ambassador Rylan arranged a meeting on a neutral station. 7 legendary fighters, each one a master of their craft, each one burning with rage and purpose. Soren arrived with the Horizon's Edge crew. She looked different now. Healthier. Stronger. Her eyes no longer covered, her movements no longer limited. She was what she had always meant to be. The other warriors studied her with respect. She was the first freed, the one who had started everything. They called her the Awakener now, the one who brought legends back to life. We should destroy them, Vakara said, slamming a fist on the table. Burn every Vextar world to ash. Make them pay for what they did to us. Others agreed. The rage in the room was overwhelming. 200 years of pain and loss, all looking for an outlet. Soren stood. I understand your anger. I feel it too. But if we become like them, if we rule through fear and destruction, then they win. Our species are dead. We can't bring them back, but we can build something new, something better. Easy for you to say, another warrior growled. You have allies, friends, we have nothing. You have each other, Minho said, stepping forward. And you have us. Humanity might be new to the galaxy, but we know what it's like to be the underdog. We'll stand with you. Why? Vakara asked. What do humans gain from this? The chance to build something worth believing in, Jiwan said. An alliance based on choice, not conquest. Protection instead of domination. We're tired of empires. Let's try something different. The warriors talked long into the night. Arguments, debates, old grudges and new hopes mixing together. But slowly a consensus formed. They would build a coalition, not an empire but a voluntary alliance. Any world that wanted protection could join. Any species that valued freedom would be welcome. What about the Vextar? Someone asked. They won't let us exist peacefully. Then we show them what legends can do, Soren said. Not through destruction. Through strength. We defend, we protect. We prove that their way isn't the only way. She looked at the crew of the Horizon's Edge. These humans freed me when they had no reason to. They risked everything for someone they barely knew. That's the kind of galaxy I want to build. One where strength is used to protect the weak, not exploit them. The warriors voted. It was close, but they agreed. A new coalition would form. The Vextar had ruled through fear for millennia. Now they would face something they'd never encountered. United resistance. News spread fast. Worlds began joining the coalition. Not just conquered species, but even some Vextar worlds tired of endless war. Velcor saw an opportunity and broke away from Kravos, taking half the empire with him. The galaxy transformed. What had been stable for thousands of years suddenly wasn't. Old powers fell, new ones rose. And at the center of it all, A blind warrior who could see again, standing with humans who believed impossible things could happen. But Kravos wasn't finished. He gathered his loyalists, the old guard who believed in the Empire's supremacy. They would strike back. And they would make an example of the one who had started it all, the Ashblade. Soren knew he would come. She'd been his greatest trophy, and she'd escaped. More than that, she'd humiliated him. He would hunt her to the end of the galaxy if necessary. Let him come, she told Minho one night, watching stars from the observation deck. I'm not afraid anymore. You should be, Minho said. He nearly destroyed you once. That was different. I was alone then. Now I have Corvin. I have purpose. I have hope. She turned to look at him with her golden eyes. He took everything from me once, but you gave it back. Not the same things, but new things, better things. We'll face him together, Minho said. Together, she agreed. The confrontation was coming. Kravos would arrive with his fleet, expecting to recapture his trophy. But he would find something he'd never faced before. Not a broken warrior to imprison. Not a legend to collect. He would find the Ashblade reborn, Soren of the Horizon's Edge, awakener of legends, protector of the weak. And she would not be alone. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. 6 months had passed since Soren's surgery. The galaxy had changed more in that time than in the previous 1,000 years. The coalition grew daily. Worlds that had suffered under Vextar rule joined freely. The freed warriors became its protectors, traveling between systems, training defenders, showing people that resistance was possible. Humanity found itself in an unexpected position. They were the bridge between species, the neutral party everyone trusted because they were too new to have old grudges. Earth's government was cautious but supportive. This was humanity's chance to matter in the galaxy. Soren stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Edge, now the flagship of a small but growing fleet. She looked different than the warrior who had been freed from that tomb. Healthier, stronger. Her armor was repaired, polished. Her golden eyes were clear and focused. But she still carried Whisper, the sword that had connected her to Minho. They didn't need the neural bridge anymore. The bond they'd formed was deeper than technology. Incoming message, Deho called from communications. He'd grown into his role, no longer the nervous young engineer. It's from Kravos, the crew gathered. On the screen, Warlord Kravos appeared. He looked older, angrier. The Civil War had cost him dearly. Half his empire was gone. His authority questioned. And it was all because of the warrior he'd imprisoned 2 centuries ago. Ashblade, he said, the title dripping with venom. You've made a mockery of my empire, turned the galaxy against me, but this ends now. Come face me, you and I. Settle this properly. It's a trap, G1 said immediately. Of course it's a trap, Soren agreed. But he's right. This needs to end. The galaxy can't heal while he remains. Kravos specified coordinates. A dead system on the border between his territory and coalition space. Neutral ground, he claimed. Don't go, Minho said. He wants you dead. He'll bring an army. Then we bring an army too, Soren said. But I will face him. I owe my people that much. Kravos led the fleets that destroyed them. He kept me as a trophy to prove their defeat was complete. It's time to show him he was wrong. The coalition fleet assembled. 7 legendary warriors, dozens of ships from freed worlds, and the Horizon's Edge, with its crew of humans who had started it all. They arrived at the coordinates to find Kravos waiting. His flagship was massive, bristling with weapons. A dozen warships flanked it. He'd brought the core of his remaining loyal fleet. So much for neutral ground, Deho muttered. Kravos appeared on screen again. Come aboard, Ashblade. Face me in single combat like the warrior you claim to be, or hide behind your new friends and prove you're still the broken thing I made you. Soren considered. It was clearly a trap, but it was also an opportunity. If she defeated Kravos publicly, it would break the spirit of his loyalists. The war would end faster. Fewer would die. I'll go, she said, but not alone. Minho comes with me. Soren. Minho started to protest. You're my Corvin, she said simply. Where I go, you go. That's how this works. They took a shuttle to Kravos's flagship. The docking bay was full of soldiers, all heavily armed. But Kravos had agreed to single combat. He wouldn't break that rule, not in front of his own men. Honor mattered even to monsters. Kravos waited in his trophy room, the same room where he'd kept Soren before imprisoning her on Kelthera Prime. Displays of artifacts from conquered species lined the walls. Weapons, art, pieces of the dead. "Welcome back," Kravos said. He was massive, covered in armor made from the bones of defeated enemies. Trophies hung from his belt. Each one represented a civilization he'd destroyed. "Did you miss this place?" Soren looked around calmly. "I remember it. The torture, the isolation. You thought breaking me would prove your superiority. Instead, you just taught me to hate efficiently. And now you think you can beat me?" Kravos laughed. "I defeated you at your peak. You're still recovering from 2 centuries of imprisonment. This will be quick. You defeated me when I was alone," Soren said. "When I had nothing left to fight for." "That's changed." Kravos drew his weapon. It was enormous, a blade as tall as a human. "Then let's finish this." They fought. Kravos was everything Soren remembered. Powerful, fast, brutal. He'd trained for centuries, studied every combat style in the galaxy. He knew all her techniques because he'd watched her fight for years. But Soren had learned new things. She'd trained with humans who didn't know the old ways, who improvised and adapted and refused to follow rules. She'd become something different than the warrior Kravos had defeated. Their blades met with thunderous force. Kravos pressed his advantage using strength and size. Soren moved like water flowing around his attacks, striking from unexpected angles. "You're weaker than before," Kravos taunted. "Slower, but smarter," Soren replied. She feinted left, struck right. Her blade found a gap in his armor. First blood. Kravos roared and attacked with renewed fury. The room shook with the force of their combat. Displays shattered. Trophies fell. 2 centuries of rage and pain channeled into every strike. Minho watched, hand on his weapon, ready to intervene. But he trusted Soren. She'd been training for this moment since she woke up. The fight turned. Kravos began to tire. Age and arrogance had made him sloppy. He'd spent so long winning that he'd forgotten how to adapt. Soren pressed forward, using techniques no Kelthera warrior had ever used. Human tricks mixed with ancient forms, she disarmed him. His massive blade clattered across the floor. Kravos stood defenseless, breathing hard, shock and disbelief on his face. "Impossible," he whispered. "I broke you. I made you nothing." Soren held Whisper at his throat. One thrust would end it. Revenge for her people. Justice for 200 years of suffering. Every instinct screamed to kill him, but she lowered her blade. "No," she said. "You didn't make me nothing. You tried. You failed. I am Soren of the Horizon's Edge, awakener of legends, protector of the weak, and I choose mercy." Kravos stared at her in confusion. "Why, I would have killed you." "I know. That's the difference between us. You rule through fear and death. I protect through strength and choice. The galaxy doesn't need more death. It needs to heal." She turned to his soldiers watching from the edges of the room. "Your warlord is defeated. You have a choice. Continue fighting for an empire built on genocide, or join us in building something new, something worth believing in." One by one, weapons lowered. The soldiers had seen their leader defeated by the warrior he claimed to have broken. They'd watched mercy given when revenge was justified. It changed something in them. Thane Velcor appeared in the doorway. He'd been listening, waiting. "The empire is finished," he said. "Kravos's way led us to civil war and ruin. Perhaps it's time to try something different." Over the following weeks, the Vextar Empire dissolved. Some worlds joined the coalition. Others chose independence. A few stayed loyal to old ways, but they were the minority now. The galaxy was transforming. Soren returned to Kelthera Prime. The dead world was slowly being reclaimed. Volunteers from a dozen species worked to restore the cities, plant new forests, build monuments to the fallen. She stood before a massive stone memorial. On it, she carved the names of every Kelthera she could remember. Her friends, her family, her people, speaking each name aloud so they wouldn't be forgotten. Minho and the crew watched from a distance, giving her space. When she finished, she stood silent for a long time, just looking at the names. Finally, she turned to them. Tears on her face, but also a smile. "They're at peace now, and so am I. What will you do now?" Jiwan asked. "The war is over. You're free." Soren looked at the stars rising above the horizon. The Kelthera believed that warriors protect beauty. Not just preserve it, but help it grow. I thought that meant protecting my people, my world. But I was thinking too small. She looked at each of them. "You taught me that beauty is possibility. New connections, new hope, new civilizations finding their way. That's what I want to protect now. So you'll stay with us? Mino asked. Where else would I go? Soren smiled. You're my Corvin. My clan, my family. The Horizon's Edge is my home now. Deho grinned. Does this mean you'll keep training us? Because honestly, I'm still terrible at sword fighting. Yes, Soren said. But I'll also learn from you. Human ways. How to adapt. How to hope even when things seem impossible. You've taught me as much as I've taught you. Hyejin stepped forward. The Coalition wants to establish a medical institute, combining knowledge from all species. They asked if you'd help lead it. Your experience with the neural devices could help countless others. I'm a warrior, not a healer. You're both. Hyejin corrected gently. You protected us. Healed us in ways that had nothing to do with medicine. You showed us how to be strong without being cruel. That's healing too, Soren considered. A medical institute, helping others recover from what the Vextar had done. Turning suffering into knowledge. Trauma into healing, it appealed to her. I'll do it, she said. But the Horizon's Edge stays operational. We're not done exploring, not done discovering. The galaxy is healing, but it still needs protectors. Always, Jiwan agreed. They stood together as the sun set on Kelthera Prime. A dead world slowly coming back to life. A broken warrior made whole. A crew of humans who had changed the galaxy by refusing to give up on one person. Do you regret it? Minyo asked quietly. Waking up? Everything that happened? Soren thought about it. The pain, the loss, the struggle, but also the friendship, the purpose.